Welcome to Motivation at Hand, Ma. To know is to know how. Case 123 CR00257 TSC Document 139 filed November 3, 2023. In the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. United States of America vs. Donald J. Trump, Defendant, Criminal Number 23 CR 257, TSC. Government's omnibus opposition to defendant's motions to dismiss the indictment on statutory and constitutional grounds. Omitted, Table of Contents. 1. Introduction. The indictment in this case charges the defendant, then the President, with perpetrating an unprecedented campaign of deceit to attack the very functioning of the federal government to collect, count, and certify votes, to obstruct the January 6 congressional proceeding at which the election results are certified, and to disenfranchise millions of voters. All in a concerted criminal effort to overturn the presidential election results and prevent the lawful transfer of power to his successor. Because the defendant cannot mount meritorious challenges to the charges against him, his motions to dismiss the indictment on constitutional ECF number 113, and statutory ECF number 114, grounds, rely instead on distortions and misrepresentations. The defendant attempts to rewrite the indictment, claiming that it charges him with wholly innocuous, perhaps even admirable conduct, sharing his opinions about election fraud and seeking election integrity, when in fact it clearly describes the defendant's fraudulent use of knowingly false statements as weapons in furtherance of his criminal plans. The defendant's motions cite cases that, upon examination, undermine his arguments rather than support them, and he improperly challenges the government's anticipated trial evidence at this stage. The defendant also claims that he could not have known his actions were criminal because, in the past, others who have questioned, challenged, or protested election results were not prosecuted. But the defendant stands alone in American history for his alleged crimes. No other president has engaged in conspiracy and obstruction to overturn valid election results and illegitimately retain power. The indictment squarely charges the defendant for this conduct, and the defendant's constitutional and statutory challenges to it are meritless. The defendant's motions, ECF numbers 113 and 114, should be denied. 2. Background. A grand jury charged the defendant in a 4-count indictment. ECF number 1. Count 1, which charges a conspiracy to defraud the United States, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 371, alleges that the defendant, then a candidate seeking re-election to the presidency, conspired with, among others, several individuals outside the executive branch to overturn the legitimate results of the 2020 presidential election by using knowingly false claims of election fraud to obstruct the federal government function by which those results are collected, counted, and certified. ECF number 1 at paragraphs 1, 7, 8. The indictment further alleges that the defendant aimed at accomplishing the conspiracy's objectives in 5 ways. Using deceit toward state officials to subvert the legitimate election results in those states, same as paragraphs 13 to 52. Using deceit to organize fraudulent slates of electors in 7 targeted states, and cause them to send false certificates to Congress, same as paragraphs 53 to 69. Leveraging the Department of Justice to use deceit to get state officials to replace the legitimate electoral slate with electors who would cast their votes for the defendant, same as paragraphs 70 to 85. Attempting to enlist the vice president to fraudulently alter the election results during the certification proceeding on January 6, 2021, and directing supporters to the Capitol to obstruct the proceeding, same as paragraphs 86 to 105, and exploiting the violence and chaos that transpired at the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021, same as paragraphs 106 to 124. Counts 2 and 3, which incorporate allegations from Count 1, charge conspiracy and substantive violations of 18 U.S.C. Section 1512c, 2, for corruptly obstructing the certification of the presidential election. Results on January 6, 2021. Same as paragraphs 125 to 28. Count 4, which likewise incorporates the allegations from Count 1, alleges that the defendant conspired to violate one or more persons' constitutional right to vote and have one's vote counted. Same as paragraphs 129 to 30. 3. Legal standard. An indictment's main purpose is to inform the defendant of the nature of the accusation. United States v. Estes. 795 F3D 138, 148-49, D.C. Circuit 2015. Thus, an indictment need only contain a plain, concise, and definite written statement of the essential facts constituting the offense charged. Same as. At 149, quoting Federal Rules Criminal Procedures 7c. Parroting the language of a federal criminal statute is often sufficient. United States v. Williamson. A defendant may move before trial to dismiss an indictment, or a count thereof, for failure to state an offense. Federal Rules Criminal Procedure 12b, 3b5. When testing the sufficiency of the charges in an indictment, the indictment must be viewed as a whole and the allegations therein must be accepted as true. United States v. Hilly, 227 Federal Supplement 3D 57, 71, DDC 2017, quoting United States v. Bowden, 770 Federal Supplement 2D 142, 145, DDC 2011, United States v. Weeks, 636 Federal Supplement 3D 117, 120, DDC 2022. For argument. Rather than challenging the indictment on its merits, the defendant's motions, ECF numbers 113 and 114, attack the indictment by mischaracterizing its allegations, raising inapposite hypotheticals, and advancing arguments that are long on rhetoric, but short on law. Stripped of those distractions, the defendant's statutory and constitutional claims are entirely meritless. The detailed allegations in the 45-page indictment are more than adequate to charge that the defendant conspired to defeat a federal government function through deceit and dishonest means, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 371. Corruptly conspired to, attempted to, and did obstruct an official proceeding. In violation of 18 U.S.C. Sections 1512c, 2, and k, and conspired to violate others' constitutional rights to vote and have their vote counted, in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 241. The allegations that the defendant sought to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election by resorting to fraud, deceit, and corruption place his conduct well outside the protections afforded by the First Amendment and likewise put him fully on notice that his conduct was criminal and thus subject to prosecution. Finally, the defendant's prior acquittal in a Senate trial following his impeachment in the House does not foreclose this criminal prosecution, and his particular reliance on the double jeopardy clause is frivolous. The court should deny the defendant's motions. His conduct well outside the protections afforded by the First Amendment and likewise put him fully on notice that his conduct was criminal and thus subject to prosecution. Finally, the defendant's prior acquittal in a Senate trial following his impeachment in the House does not foreclose this criminal prosecution, and his particular reliance on the double jeopardy clause is frivolous. The court should deny the defendant's motions. To be continued. Part 2. A. The defendant's statutory challenges lack merit. 1. The indictment adequately alleges a violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 371. Much appreciation to you for giving of your time with us at Motivation at Hand. To know is to know how. We trust you will come back soon.